Hi, this is Daniel Wong from careerwithapassion.com. Today we're going to talk about what 500 millionaires can teach us about becoming wildly successful in our careers. In this presentation, I'm going to share with you a principle that will guarantee your success if you follow it, why most people don't follow it, and why you should. Just a bit of a clarification here on the word success. Success comes in many different flavors and colors, and it's not limited to financial terms. You can call it fulfillment, wealth, or abundance. It doesn't have to be limited to money. In fact, I am going to share with you examples of people that I consider successful, even though they may not be particularly rich. As we get started here, let me give you some background as to what we're talking about. Andrew Carnegie, who's a billionaire, commissioned a young journalist by the name of Napoleon Hill to interview and analyze over 500 millionaires in order to discover the formula of success. 20 over years later, the work of Napoleon Hill was published in the form of a book. It sold 30 million copies over the next 70 years, and today it is still considered the millionaire's Bible of success. This book is Think and Grow Rich. In this book, Napoleon Hill reveals a principle that I think would be very useful for us in terms of how to become wildly successful in our careers. And the principle is this: to have single-mindedness of purpose. What does that mean? It means that all these people knew what they wanted. They decided on one thing that they are going to channel all their efforts and focus on, and they are going to pursue this one thing to its fullest extent. That is single-mindedness of purpose. Let me give you a few examples of people who have followed this principle and achieved amazing results. Bill Hybels is the senior pastor of Willow Creek Community Church in the US. Early on in his life, he decided to devote himself to building an Acts 2 church. Now, if you're not familiar with the Bible, you may be wondering what's an Acts 2 church. Acts is one of the books in the New Testament of the Bible, and in Acts chapter 2, it describes the condition of the church at that time. The believers at the time devoted themselves to the teachings of the apostles, to prayer, to fellowship, and to the sharing of meals with one another. They even went as far as to sell their own possessions and share the money with those in need. And at that time, the power of God also manifested in their lives through miraculous signs and miracles. Bill wanted to build a church like that, as described in Acts 2. That's why I say Acts 2 church. So he said to God, if this is one thing you want me to do for the rest of my life, I would give my life to do it. Now that is single-mindedness of purpose. From then on, he became totally focused towards building an Acts 2 church. There were many times when it looked like everything is going nowhere and it's game over. But because he was totally single-minded towards accomplishing his purpose, he pushed on. Today, Willow Creek Church has more than 50,000 people across the United States, and it is still growing. Example number 2 is George Sampson. George was a 13-year-old kid that went to audition for Britain's Got Talent. He did his dance routine and he did very well in the audition. Unfortunately, the judges didn't think he was good enough, so he was voted out of the show. Now think about this for a moment. If you were 13 years old and you were being told by the judges that you weren't good enough, what would you do? For most 13-year-old kids, that would be the end of the story. But not for George. He came back the next year to the audition again. The judges recognized him from the previous year, and they asked him, "What have you done over the last 12 months?" And he said, "I've just trained harder, and I've just got bigger and better with moves." All George ever wanted to do was to become a dancer. He was totally single-minded towards becoming a dancer. He would dance on the streets of Manchester to get better, and he would use all the money he raised to pay for dance lessons and for petrol for his mom to drive him around. In May 2008, this 14-year-old kid became the winner of Britain's Got Talent. Question: if Bill and George weren't single-minded in their pursuit of their purpose, do you think they would have gotten where they wanted to go? I don't think so. So if single-mindedness of purpose is so important, why do most people never bother to follow it? I think there are a couple of reasons. Number one is that people believe they can't do other things if they choose one thing to focus on. They perhaps think to themselves, I've got so many things I want to do in life. Choosing one thing means that I can't do all these other things. Well, actually, that's a misconception, because it is by focusing on this one thing that would allow you to do all the other things. Besides, if you focus on many things, you won't go very far with any of them. The second reason that people don't follow this principle is because they are unclear of their purpose. They've never spent the time to clarify where they're headed and what they really wanted in life. And since they don't know where it is they're headed, they can't even begin to talk about single-mindedness of purpose. And without being clear on your purpose, you will get distracted very easily. Maybe you start a thing here, go at it for a while, then stop, and then jump onto something else. Now, I know you don't do these things, but perhaps you know someone who does, right? You've met people like that they have, kind of started one thing and stopped, and then start another thing and then stop again. You see, people who haven't decided on their purpose just kind of drift along with the currents of life. Like a ship without a rudder. They just go along where life takes them. So, I trust that you don't want to be like those people. So here are a couple of reasons why you should follow this principle of being single-minded on your purpose. Number one is that being single-minded on your purpose allows you to stay on path. Distractions are going to come, whether you like it or not. It will come a time when life is going to test your commitment. You will get opportunities that will try to lure you away from what you know you should do. If you're clear on your purpose and you're committed to stay on path, that's when you can ask yourself, is this going to bring me closer to my purpose? If not, then you know what you should do. Chris Howard, a world-renowned trainer and public speaker, reflected on a time when life tested him on his commitment. After he decided to be a public speaker, his friend came along and offered him a job for 80 grand a year. Now at that time, 80 grand is more money than he had ever made in a year. So he reasoned to himself, maybe my purpose can change. 80 grand sure sounds good. He knew it was off his path, so he decided against that. And as a result of staying single-minded towards his purpose, he's now a multi-millionaire and living his dreams. The second reason for you to follow this principle is that it will allow you to concentrate all your efforts. You see, greatness does not come with a diversification of efforts. It comes with the concentration of efforts. Take Michael Jordan as an example. He is arguably the best basketball player of all times. What do you think is going through Jordan's head as he was practicing? Is he thinking, maybe I should spend half of my time on golf instead? Or is he totally focused on becoming the best basketball player he can be? He's totally focused. If he decided to focus a bit on golf, a bit on baseball, a bit on ice hockey, do you think he would have gotten very far? No, I don't think so. I hope at this point that it is mightily clear to you why you should have single-mindedness of purpose. If you haven't got that clarity on your purpose, stick with me, because in my other videos, I'm going to show you how to do that. Meanwhile, I hope you decide in your own mind right now to stay single-minded on your purpose. If you have enjoyed this information and you would like to get more, please go to www.careerwithapassion.com. God bless you.